Have you ever felt like you've sacrificed a part of yourself just to keep the peace or make someone else happy? Maybe it was your self-respect, your values, or even your dreams. If that resonates, you're not alone. Let me share a story about someone I know. He was a hardworking man, always going above and beyond for his family and friends. But over the years, something shifted. He stopped saying no. He worked late hours to please a boss who didn't appreciate him. He gave up hobbies he loved because others deemed them unimportant. Little by little, he lost himself in the process. One day, after another exhausting week, he confided in me, "Why do I feel so drained and unfulfilled?" That moment was his wake-up call. He started setting boundaries, protecting his happiness, and rediscovering the person he once was. In today's video, we'll uncover 7 things you should never sacrifice for anyone. Not for your job, not for relationships, and not for approval. These lessons, rooted in Stoic philosophy, will empower you to reclaim your confidence, peace, and purpose. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever sacrificed something important? Did you regret it, or did it teach you something powerful? Share your story in the comments below. Let's start this journey together. 1. Your self-respect. Self-respect is not just a feeling, it's the core of who you are. Imagine standing in front of a mirror and seeing a reflection that feels foreign, like someone you no longer recognize. That's what happens when you compromise your self-respect. It begins subtly. Perhaps you stay quiet when someone disrespects you, thinking it's not worth the conflict. Maybe you accept unreasonable demands at work, fearing rejection or failure. Over time, these decisions build into a pattern, and before you know it, your confidence and sense of identity feel diminished. The pain of losing self-respect is profound, even if it's not always visible. It feels like a slow erosion of your inner strength, leaving behind frustration, self-doubt, and resentment. You might tell yourself it's just temporary, or this is what it takes to succeed. But deep down, the cost is undeniable. Compromising your self-respect doesn't just affect how others see you, it alters how you see yourself. And that shift impacts every corner of your life, from your relationships to your ambitions. Self-respect is the foundation of your happiness and peace. Without it, the things you hold dear begin to crumble. A friend of mine learned this the hard way. For years, he was the kind of person who never said no. He wanted to be accommodating, helpful, and dependable. But this came at a cost. He often stayed late at work to cover for others, took on extra responsibilities at home, and ignored his own needs. He believed that saying yes made him valuable, but in reality, it made him exhausted. One evening, after weeks of burnout, he admitted he no longer felt like himself. He realized that by trying to keep everyone else happy, he had forgotten how to prioritize his own peace. This turning point led him to change his approach. He began setting boundaries, learning to say no without guilt, and valuing his time and energy. What he found was that true respect from others and from himself came not from bending over backward, but from standing firm in his values. That decision transformed his life, creating room for clarity, confidence, and fulfillment. Stoic philosophy offers timeless wisdom on this. Epictetus wrote, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, self-respect often requires you to go against the grain, even if others misunderstand your choices. Stoicism emphasizes that real strength comes from within, living in alignment with your values and prioritizing your inner worth over external validation. A Stoic doesn't waste energy seeking approval, but focuses on maintaining their integrity and peace. Consider this. Imagine you're in a relationship where your partner dismisses your opinions or belittles your efforts. You tell yourself it's not worth fighting over, so you let it slide again and again. Over time, the emotional weight of tolerating disrespect takes its toll. You start to feel small, unworthy, and invisible. But harmony built on the sacrifice of self-respect is no harmony at all. It's a slow erosion of your dignity. Stoicism encourages you to step back and ask, am I living by my values? Am I honoring myself in this relationship? Rebuilding self-respect starts with self-awareness. Take stock of where your boundaries have been crossed, and be honest about how that makes you feel. Acknowledge your worth and recognize that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable. Begin setting clear boundaries, even in small ways. For example, If a colleague consistently interrupts you during meetings, firmly yet calmly assert your voice. If a friend only reaches out when they need something, politely communicate your limits. These small acts reinforce the message that your time and self-worth are not negotiable. Over time, the benefits of standing up for your self-respect will ripple through your life. People will begin to see you differently, and more importantly, you'll start seeing yourself in a new light, one of confidence, clarity, and inner strength. Self-respect isn't arrogance or selfishness. It's the foundation for a fulfilling life. When you value yourself, you teach others how to value you too. This simple yet profound shift can transform relationships, create opportunities, and, most importantly, restore your sense of purpose and peace. As the Stoics remind us, self-respect isn't something others give you. It's something you cultivate by living in alignment with who you truly are. Protect it fiercely. 2. Your values and integrity. Your values and integrity are the compass guiding you through life's complexities. They define who you are at your core and influence every decision you make. When you compromise on these principles, it's as if you're trying to navigate a dense forest without a map. You lose your sense of direction, and eventually you're no longer sure of the path you're walking. It might start small, overlooking a principle to avoid conflict or agreeing to something that goes against your ethics. But each step away from your values creates a deeper disconnect between the person you are and the person you aspire to be. When you sacrifice your integrity, the consequences often extend far beyond the initial decision. You might feel a sense of unease, a nagging guilt that you can't quite shake. That discomfort doesn't just disappear. It lingers and begins to erode your self-trust. And if you can't trust yourself to do what's right, how can others? Over time, this can lead to strained relationships, missed opportunities, and a life filled with regret. Integrity isn't just about doing the right thing. It's about being able to look yourself in the mirror with pride. One of my childhood friends, someone I admired deeply, once faced a situation where his values were tested. He was offered a high-paying job, but the role required him to work for a company with questionable practices. On the surface, it seemed like a golden opportunity, financial security, prestige, the kind of job others envy. But deep down, he knew it didn't align with his principles. For weeks, he wrestled with the decision. The fear of judgment and financial instability weighed heavily on him. Yet in the end, he chose to walk away. It wasn't an easy choice, but it was the right one for him. Years later, he started his own business, built on the very values he refused to compromise. That decision not only shaped his career, but also solidified his sense of self-worth. This is where Stoic philosophy provides profound clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This simple principle reminds us that integrity is non-negotiable. Stoics believe that living virtuously is essential for inner peace. When your actions align with your values, you create a harmony within yourself that no external validation can provide. Compromising on your integrity, on the other hand, creates inner conflict, a tension that disrupts your sense of balance. Imagine you're at a family dinner, and a relative makes a comment that goes against something you deeply believe in. Maybe it's a casual remark that feels wrong or unfair. In that moment, you have a choice. Stay silent to keep the peace, or speak up to honor your values. Staying silent might feel easier, but it often comes at a cost. Over time, silence becomes complicity, and you start to resent not just the situation, but yourself for allowing it to persist. The Stoic approach here is to act with both courage and wisdom. Courage to stand up for what you believe in, and wisdom to communicate it in a way that fosters understanding rather than conflict. It's not about arguing or forcing your beliefs on others. It's about staying true to yourself while respecting the humanity in others. If you find yourself in a situation where your values are being tested, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, does this align with who I am and what I stand for? If the answer is no, have the courage to say so. It doesn't mean being confrontational. Sometimes a simple, calm statement is enough to assert your position. By doing this, you not only protect your integrity, but also set an example for others. Values and integrity are the anchors that keep you grounded in turbulent times. Without them, you're adrift, vulnerable to being pulled in directions that lead you further from your true self. But when you stand firm in your principles, you become unshakable, like a tree with deep roots that no storm can uproot. The world may challenge you, tempt you, or even mock you, but as long as you stay aligned with your values, you'll never lose sight of who you are. In a society that often rewards shortcuts and compromises, living with integrity can feel like swimming against the tide. But remember, it's not the easy path that leads to fulfillment. It's the one that requires courage, self-awareness, and commitment to what you believe in. Protect your values fiercely, for they are the foundation of a life well lived. And as the Stoics teach, a life lived in alignment with virtue is the only life truly worth living. 3. Your physical and mental health. Your physical and mental health are the foundation upon which everything else in your life is built. Imagine a machine running tirelessly without maintenance. At first it seems fine, but over time it starts to wear down, parts falter, and eventually it breaks. That's what happens when you neglect your health. You may feel like sacrificing sleep, skipping meals, or ignoring stress is the price you pay for success, love, or fulfilling obligations. But in reality, the cost is far greater than you realize. When you give up your health for others, you may feel noble at first. It might seem like proof of your dedication or selflessness, but over time, exhaustion sets in. You feel drained, short-tempered, and unfocused. The very people you're sacrificing for may not even recognize the toll it's taking on you. And the truth is, you can't give your best to anyone if you're running on empty. The consequences ripple through your life, affecting your relationships, your work, and even your ability to pursue your dreams. A childhood friend of mine shared a story that stayed with me. Her mother was her world, kind, wise, and the heart of their family. When her mother fell ill, my friend poured everything she had into caregiving. She skipped meals, barely slept, and ignored her own health to ensure her mother was cared for. Though her intentions were pure, the strain eventually caught up with her. She fell ill herself, and for a time, her ability to care for her mother diminished. Reflecting on that period, she told me that while she wouldn't change her dedication, she realized she could have supported her mother better if she had also taken care of herself. It was a hard-earned lesson in balance. Stoic philosophy offers a vital perspective here. Seneca reminds us, life is like a play. It's not the length but the excellence of the acting that matters. This doesn't mean we should give less to the people we love. Rather, it's a reminder to live with intention and balance. Your health is not a selfish priority. It's an essential part of living virtuously. Stoics emphasize the importance of a sound body and mind, because only then can we fulfill our duties effectively. Imagine you're a parent working long hours to provide for your family. You skip meals, avoid exercise, and push through stress because you believe that's what they need from you. But over time, your health deteriorates, and you can no longer be present for them in the ways that truly matter. The Stoic approach would ask you to step back and reflect. Are your sacrifices aligned with what's best for you and your loved ones in the long run? It's not about abandoning your responsibilities, but fulfilling them with wisdom and care. If you're in a similar situation, start by acknowledging your limits. No one is invincible. And ignoring your needs doesn't make you stronger, it makes you vulnerable. Prioritize habits that support your well-being, even in small ways. Get enough sleep, eat nourishing food, and make time for moments of mental rest. These aren't luxuries, they're necessities. And if guilt creeps in, remember, taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's the foundation that allows you to give your best to others. One simple Stoic exercise can help. Every day, take a few moments to reflect on what truly matters. Write down one thing you did for your health, one thing you did for someone else, and how those actions balanced each other. This practice fosters mindfulness and reminds you that self-care and generosity are not opposites. They're partners. Your health is like a reservoir. When it's full, you can draw from it to support others, pursue your ambitions, and live fully. But if you let it run dry, everything suffers. Don't let the pressure to be everything to everyone lead you to neglect yourself. Remember, you're not just a caretaker, an employee, or a provider. You're a human being with needs and limits. Living in alignment with Stoic principles means recognizing that your physical and mental well-being are gifts and treating them as such. Protect them fiercely, not just for your own sake, but for those who rely on you. A healthy, balanced life isn't just better for you, it's better for everyone around you. And when you start living this way, you'll realize that true strength comes not from sacrifice alone, but from the wisdom to know when to pause, care for yourself, and then return to the world stronger and more present than ever. 4. Your dreams and ambitions. Your dreams and ambitions are the compass pointing to your true north, the essence of your purpose. They provide meaning, direction, and a reason to wake up every morning with a sense of hope. Yet, how often do people bury these dreams under the weight of others' expectations? Sacrificing your ambitions might seem noble, but in reality, it's like cutting the wings of a bird. It grounds you when you are meant to soar. When you abandon your dreams, there's a quiet sadness that creeps in. It starts with small excuses. It's not the right time, or I need to prioritize someone else's needs. Over time, that sadness becomes regret, a lingering what if that never goes away. The truth is, your dreams are a reflection of who you are. Letting them go isn't just a sacrifice of goals, it's a surrender of your identity. A colleague of mine once dreamed of becoming an artist. She had the talent, the passion, and a deep desire to create. But life pulled her in another direction. Financial pressures and family expectations led her to take a stable office job. She told herself it was temporary, but years passed and the dream faded into the background. The spark she once had dimmed, replaced by a quiet resignation. It wasn't until a life-changing conversation with a mentor that she rediscovered her ambition. Slowly, she began painting again, carving out time despite her busy schedule. Her transformation was incredible, not just in her art, but in her confidence, her happiness, and the way she approached life. Stoic philosophy teaches us to pursue what aligns with our nature. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Dreams often feel like external luxuries, but they're deeply tied to your internal world. A Stoic would encourage you to focus on what you can control: the effort, the dedication, and the small, consistent steps toward your ambitions. Imagine this. You've always wanted to start a business or write a book, but the pressures of everyday life keep pulling you away. Family responsibilities, societal expectations, or the fear of failure whisper in your ear, convincing you to wait. Weeks turn into months, and months into years. Eventually, the dream feels too distant to reach. But here's the truth. Waiting doesn't make the fear go away. It only deepens the gap between where you are and where you want to be. If you're in that position, stop and reflect. Ask yourself, why did I dream this in the first place? Reconnect with that initial spark. Dreams don't demand grand gestures. They require steady steps. Start small. Dedicate 15 minutes a day to your goal, whether it's writing, learning, or building something new. Progress, however incremental, rekindles the fire. Stoics believe obstacles are not roadblocks but stepping stones. Marcus Aurelius' words, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way," remind us that challenges shape us. Instead of viewing sacrifices for others as reasons to give up your dreams, see them as opportunities to grow stronger, more disciplined, and more resourceful. Balance is key. One practical approach is to communicate your ambitions with those around you. Often, people sacrifice dreams because they fear they'll be seen as selfish or impractical. But sharing your vision with loved ones can foster understanding and even support. For example, a father working long hours might involve his family in his goal of starting a business, creating a shared purpose rather than a solo struggle. Think of your dreams as seeds. They require care, time, and the right environment to grow. Neglecting them doesn't mean they disappear. They remain dormant, waiting for the moment you choose to nurture them again. The act of pursuing your dreams, no matter how challenging, is a declaration of self-respect. It's an acknowledgement that your purpose matters and that you refuse to let fear or circumstance define your path. As you listen to this, you might be thinking of a dream you've put on hold, a business you wanted to start, a career you wanted to change, or a creative project you've been longing to finish. Whatever it is, know this: your dream doesn't have an expiration date. It's never too late to take the first step. Align your actions with your aspirations, and you'll find that the journey itself is just as rewarding as the destination. Your ambitions are not burdens. They are gifts, reminders of what makes your life uniquely yours. Protect them, nurture them, and never let anyone convince you they're not worth pursuing. As the Stoics teach, living in alignment with your true nature is the path to fulfillment. So honor your dreams, not just for what they represent, but for the person they allow you to become. 5. Your happiness and peace. Happiness and peace are the cornerstones of a fulfilling life. Yet many of us willingly trade them away, often without realizing it. We remain in relationships that drain us, stay in environments that suffocate us, and agree to responsibilities that slowly erode our sense of joy. Why? Because we convince ourselves that enduring discomfort is a necessary sacrifice for the greater good. But sacrificing your happiness isn't noble. It's a slow surrender of the life you deserve. When you give up your peace, it doesn't happen all at once. It's gradual, like a slow leak in a boat. At first, you may not even notice. You make excuses. It's just a phase, or it'll get better. But over time, the cracks widen. You feel more irritable, less focused, and increasingly detached from the things that once brought you joy. The weight of constant compromise begins to feel unbearable, and the spark you once had dims to a flicker. My brother once found himself in such a situation. He was in a long-term relationship with someone who, while caring in many ways, often undermined his confidence. She would dismiss his ideas, criticize his ambitions, and belittle his choices. For years he tolerated it, telling himself that love meant making sacrifices, but the toll it took on his happiness was undeniable. He began to doubt himself, withdrawing from friends and losing interest in the hobbies he once loved. It wasn't until their relationship ended that he truly realized how much of himself he had lost. In the months that followed, he rebuilt his life, rediscovered his passions, and reclaimed his sense of peace. His story is a reminder that protecting your happiness isn't selfish, it's essential. Stoic philosophy offers profound guidance here. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This idea shifts the focus inward. Happiness isn't found in external circumstances. It's rooted in how you perceive and respond to the world around you. Stoics teach us to let go of things outside our control and focus on nurturing our inner peace. They remind us that external chaos doesn't have to disturb our internal tranquility unless we allow it. Think about a situation where you've sacrificed your peace for the sake of harmony. Maybe you stayed silent during a family argument to avoid conflict, or agreed to something that went against your better judgment to keep someone else happy. In the moment, it might have seemed like the right thing to do. But over time, these choices accumulate, creating a tension that seeps into every part of your life. The cost of avoiding discomfort in the short term is often far greater discomfort in the long term. If this resonates with you, it's time to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what truly brings me happiness? What drains my energy and peace? Once you identify these, start making deliberate changes. For example, if a friendship consistently leaves you feeling anxious or drained, set boundaries. This doesn't mean cutting people off, it means protecting your energy while maintaining respect. Similarly, if your job leaves you feeling empty, explore ways to bring meaning back into your work or consider new opportunities. Happiness and peace aren't luxuries reserved for special moments. They are the foundation of a life well lived. And the good news is, they don't require monumental changes. Small, consistent actions can create profound shifts. Practice gratitude daily. Focus on what you can control rather than worrying about what you can't. Surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you. These small steps can help you build a life that feels aligned with your values and aspirations. The Stoics believed that true contentment comes from aligning your actions with your principles. If something or someone consistently disrupts your peace, ask yourself whether it aligns with who you want to be. Letting go of what no longer serves you isn't giving up. It's making space for the things that truly matter. It's choosing to live a life that reflects your inner truth, rather than one dictated by external pressures. So, if you find yourself sacrificing your happiness and peace for others, remember this: you cannot pour from an empty cup. Prioritizing your joy isn't selfish. It's a gift to everyone around you. When you're at peace with yourself, you show up as the best version of yourself. For your family, your friends, and your community. Choose your peace. Choose your happiness. And trust that in doing so, you're not just creating a better life for yourself, but inspiring others to do the same. 6. Your important relationships. The relationships we hold dearest, our family, close friends, and mentors, shape us in profound ways. They offer love, support, and connection, but they also require effort and balance. Yet, in the chaos of life, these bonds are often the first to suffer. We convince ourselves that our loved ones will understand if we neglect them for a while. But over time, a while becomes too late. Relationships are like gardens. Without care and attention, they wither, no matter how strong they once were. When we sacrifice these relationships for work, ambition, or the expectations of others, the loss is gradual but undeniable. At first, it feels manageable, missing a family dinner here, canceling a coffee catch-up there. But over time, the distance grows. You might notice it as an awkward silence, where there used to be an easy conversation, or a sense of guilt when you realize you don't even know what's happening in your loved ones' lives. That absence leaves a void no accomplishment or material success can ever fill. I think of a mentor I greatly admire. He once shared a story about a pivotal moment in his life. Early in his career, he was laser-focused on building his business, often working late into the night. His young daughter would wait for him to come home, clutching a book for their nightly reading ritual. But more often than not, she would fall asleep before he arrived. One evening, he came home to find her sleeping on the couch, still holding the book. It hit him like a thunderbolt. He was missing moments he could never get back. From that day on, he began prioritizing time with his family, restructuring his schedule to ensure he could be present for those precious connections. His career didn't suffer. If anything, it flourished because he was anchored by the strength of his relationships. This story resonates because it's so universal. Many of us tell ourselves that we're too busy to nurture our bonds. Maybe you've skipped family reunions because of deadlines, or avoided difficult conversations with a loved one because it felt easier in the short term. But the reality is that avoiding those moments weakens the foundation of the relationships that matter most. Stoic philosophy offers timeless wisdom for this challenge. Seneca wrote, "We are waves of the same sea, leaves of the same tree, flowers of the same garden." This metaphor reminds us of the interconnectedness of all things, especially the relationships that sustain us. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of living in alignment with virtue, including the virtue of justice, which involves honoring our commitments to others. Neglecting our relationships for personal gain creates an imbalance, both within ourselves and in the world around us. Now let's consider this through another lens. Imagine a successful professional who has spent years climbing the corporate ladder. They're admired by colleagues and known for their achievements. Yet, their personal life is a patchwork of missed birthdays, forgotten anniversaries, and strained friendships. They may have financial success, but what happens when they need someone to celebrate with or lean on during hard times? Money and accolades can't replace the warmth of genuine human connection. If this feels familiar, it's time to reflect and act. Begin by identifying the relationships you've overlooked. Reach out, not with excuses, but with sincerity. A simple message like, "I've been thinking about you, and I'd love to reconnect," can go a long way. From there, carve out regular time for the people who matter most. Even small gestures like sharing a meal or having a heartfelt conversation can rekindle bonds. Stoics teach us that what truly matters is living in harmony with our values. If family and friends are among your core values, then actions must align with that belief. Rebuilding neglected relationships takes effort, but the rewards are immeasurable. These connections become a source of strength, joy, and peace, things no material success can replicate. Relationships aren't about grand gestures, they're about presence and consistency. Show up, not just physically, but emotionally. Listen, share, and create moments of meaning. And if there's strain or conflict, approach it with wisdom and patience. As Marcus Aurelius said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Love requires action, and action begins with intention. The beauty of relationships lies in their resilience. Even if they've been neglected, they can often be restored with genuine effort. As you nurture these bonds, you'll find that they nurture you in return, creating a life filled with support, connection, and purpose. That is the essence of a life well lived, one that aligns with both Stoic principles and the deepest desires of the human heart. 7. Your independence and autonomy. Independence and autonomy are the pillars of a fulfilling life. They represent your ability to make your own choices, define your path, and live authentically. Yet, too often, people give up this freedom for the sake of others, whether to maintain harmony, avoid conflict, or appease someone else's desires. It might feel easier in the moment, but sacrificing your autonomy is like giving someone else the key to your life, while you sit in the passenger seat, watching helplessly as they steer in a direction you never intended. The signs of losing your independence are subtle at first. Maybe you start making decisions based on someone else's preferences, or feel guilty about pursuing your own goals. Over time, this can grow into resentment, a loss of self-identity, and a life that feels like it belongs to someone else. It's like living in a house where every wall has been painted by someone else's hand, familiar but not your own. A friend of mine found herself in a relationship that slowly stripped away her independence. At first it seemed small. Her partner preferred to handle the finances, so she let him. Then he began questioning her career choices, subtly discouraging her from pursuing opportunities that excited her. Over time, she found herself seeking his approval for even the smallest decisions, like what to wear or how to spend her weekends. She felt trapped, as though her life was no longer hers to live. It wasn't until she ended the relationship that she began to reclaim her autonomy. The process was difficult, but as she regained control, her confidence returned. She started making decisions with clarity, rediscovering who she was outside of that dynamic. Stoicism offers profound insights for those seeking to reclaim their independence. Epictetus teaches, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This is a reminder that true freedom begins within. External influences will always exist, but the Stoic approach is to cultivate an inner strength that allows you to make decisions aligned with your values, regardless of outside pressures. Imagine you've always wanted to pursue a creative passion, painting, writing, or starting a small business. But every time you bring it up, someone close to you dismisses it as impractical or unrealistic. Slowly, you begin to doubt yourself. You shelve your dreams, convincing yourself that they must be right. But that dream doesn't fade. It lingers like a quiet voice reminding you of what could have been. The longer you ignore it, the louder the regret becomes. If this resonates with you, take a moment to reflect. Are you living the life you want, or the life someone else wants for you? Start by identifying the areas where you feel constrained. Maybe it's in a relationship, at work, or within societal expectations. Then, begin taking small but deliberate steps toward reclaiming your autonomy. This might mean setting boundaries, saying no more often, or pursuing a goal that matters to you, even if others don't understand it. The Stoic practice of reflection can help guide you. Every evening, ask yourself, did I act according to my own values today, or did I let someone else dictate my choices? Over time, this habit will help you build a stronger connection to your inner compass. Autonomy doesn't mean isolation. It means having the freedom to make choices that align with who you are, while still valuing the relationships and connections in your life. It's about balance. For example, you might have responsibilities to your family or workplace, but that doesn't mean you should abandon your dreams. Instead, find ways to honor both, ensuring that your life reflects your priorities as well as your commitments. Stoicism reminds us that we cannot control the actions or opinions of others, but we can control how we respond. If someone tries to undermine your independence, respond with calm and clarity. Explain your perspective, not to seek approval, but to affirm your stance. And if they can't respect your autonomy, it may be a sign that the relationship needs to be reevaluated. Independence is not about defiance or rebellion. It's about living in alignment with your values and truth. When you reclaim your autonomy, you reclaim your power. You begin to live a life that feels authentic and meaningful, rather than one dictated by fear, guilt, or obligation. Protecting your independence isn't just a choice, it's a responsibility you owe to yourself. When you stand firm in your autonomy, you create a life where your dreams, goals, and values thrive, inspiring others to do the same. As we come to the end of this journey through the 7 things you should never sacrifice for anyone, let's take a moment to reflect on what these lessons mean for your life. Each of these aspects, your self-respect, values, health, dreams, happiness, relationships, and independence, represents a pillar of who you are. To compromise them is to compromise the foundation of your identity, your peace, and your purpose. Life is full of choices, and sometimes it's tempting to give in to external pressures to keep the peace or meet someone else's expectations. But the wisdom of Stoic philosophy reminds us that true strength lies in living in alignment with our values. When you prioritize what matters most, you not only honor yourself, but also set a powerful example for those around you. These are not just abstract ideas, they are practical tools for building a life of clarity and fulfillment. Begin by reflecting on the areas where you've made sacrifices that don't align with your true self. Take small steps to reclaim those parts of your life, whether it's setting a boundary, pursuing a long-forgotten dream, or simply taking better care of your mental and physical health. Consistency is key. Practice gratitude each day. Remind yourself of what truly matters, and don't be afraid to let go of what no longer serves you. Growth doesn't happen overnight, but every small act of courage strengthens your resolve and brings you closer to a life of meaning and peace. I encourage you to share your story in the comments below. Have you ever sacrificed one of these vital parts of your life? What did you learn? Your experiences could inspire others to take the first step toward reclaiming their own lives. Together, let's build a community that thrives on authenticity, courage, and resilience.